lot of the sprayers, we've done our own wiring to them. A lot of everything, we have our own wiring. So you guys know there's different gauges of wires. The lower the number, the thicker the gauge of wire, and the opposite. So this is a thicker wire. I believe this is a 10 gauge wire, and then something like this would be like a 14 gauge wire. Something like this would be a 16 or an 18. So you have different gauges. As the number gets bigger, the smaller the wire. So it's a little inverse of what you would think. And with that, there's different strippers that you can use as well. A lot of us prefer these style that you can get at Napa. Carlisle makes them. They're kind of a Snap-on knockoff, but these are really sharp and really quick. You have the different wire thicknesses in there. So you want to kind of, usually the wire will tell you on it what it is.
Or the spool.
Or the spool will tell you if you have your own spool, but this one is kind of light, but it says, it's in gray there, it says 14GA, so that's 14 gauge. So then if you were to go onto here, you'd find where 14 is, and when you're stripping wire, you want to go about a ½ inch, quarter to 3/8, but you don't need to go super long, so just a little bit. And that's mainly because your butt connector here, it doesn't go in very far. If you see on the butt connector, it only goes in about a 1/4 inch. You only need to really strip about a 1/4 inch, and you just press down and pull it, and then you have a nice wire right there. If you go too small, you can start taking some of the copper strands with it. And the best practice for this too is to, once you strip the wire off, you just twist it a little bit, and then that keeps them all uniform in one little zone like that. If you go too long, then some of the wire will be sticking out past where the shield is, and that's not great, because then you have connectivity that's not protected. So you want to make sure that you're keeping it shredded, even if you have a little bit sticking out, but as long as it's protected by some plastic, you're fine. These connectors that we keep in the shop, if it looks like this is heat shrinkable, so if you have a lighter or a little torch or something, you can heat this on all around and it'll shrink onto the wire and it seals it completely. So it makes it a really good connection. These are fine too. What we're trying to get away with right now is people just twisting wires together and taping them. We had one foreman doing that, and it was causing some short outs. So that's not a great way to do it. If you need to test something and like see if if you swap wires to see if a valve works versus another valve or something like that, that's fine temporary, but don't leave it like that. These are the other style of connectors that are common, where they're not heat shrinkable. You just put the wire in and crimp it on either end. And this is fine too. It's usually a little bit better if you can wrap it with electrical tape afterwards. But these are perfectly fine to use. So something like these style strippers, this is just a crimper, but there's another style stripper that looks like this, to where it can crimp and strip just like this. Or they're just multiple different styles. And Napa, Lowe's, everyone's got them. So it's a good idea to keep a pair of wire strippers and crimpers on your truck, and a small assortment like this of just ring terminals. And where is this one from?
It's a motor parts store.
I mean, BIS has them, O'Reilly's has them. You can get these anywhere, but it's just an assortment. This one's really good because it's got the different sizes, as well as different ring terminals and spade connectors is what these are called. So, you have a male and a female end that you can plug in together and unplug them, but these are not shielded, right? So if you're running power through these, it can still short out. Keep that in mind.
Ahora vamos a hablar de eléctrico. Una cosa que es muy importante es saber el tipo de resort de cables que estamos ocupando. Como dije, hay de bastantes medidas de cables. En los términos de cable, entre más chico sea el número, más grueso es el cable. Entre más grande sea el número, más chiquito es el cable. Este es un 10, este es un 18 o un 16. Creo que 14 debe ser una amarilla.
14?
Yeah, es 14. ocupamos diferentes cables para diferentes ocasiones. Si vamos a jalar mucha energía, ocupamos uno más grueso. Si ocupamos menos energía, como nomás para un switch, nomás de una luz, cansa un poquito más delgado. Todo depende para qué se va a ocupar. En la mayoría de equipos que nosotros tenemos, nosotros hacemos nuestros propios conexiones. Hemos visto que hay mayordomos estaban ocupando la técnica de nomás de pelarlos y tratar de vueltita. Eso funciona si nomás van a como testear algo, nomás para ver si funciona o no. Pero no es una buena idea de dejarlos desconectados, porque eso estaba causando problemas con las enfriadoras o equipo que se estaba como quemando, estaban quemando cables enteros. ¿Cómo se dice? Hace un short.
Corto.
Hace un corto. Y eso daña mucho el equipo y más trabajo para nosotros porque tenemos que limpiar todos los cables quemados. Hay diferentes estilos de crimpers y de cables que se ocupan para pelar el cable. Todos funcionan igual, son diferentes estilos, es preferencia de cada quien. Tenemos esta clase que la mayoría ocupamos, tenemos de esta clase y tenemos esta que es doble. Una es para cortar y el otro es para hacer. You guys like this one, huh? I saw you guys like, whoa! Lo que es muy importante es que cuando estén pelando los cables, por favor, no los pelen demasiado grandes. Nomás pelenlos lo suficiente que ocupan para que entre y no salga para afuera lo pelado. Si está muy afuera, recórtenlo un poquito para que quede nomás lo que es requerido. Si ustedes no tienen un kit de conexiones, que como esta de aquí, los venden en las autopartes. Todos deberían de cargar por lo menos un kit chico básico por si hay una emergencia o lo que sea, se corta un cable o lo que sea, ustedes mismos lo pueden reparar. No tienen que ir a un mecánico nomás para hacer esto. Pero si se encuentran en una situación que hizo un corto y se quemó demasiado y no saben hasta dónde llegó el daño, por favor avísenos mejor.
There's mainly that we use just 3 different colors. The fourth one that's really rare is white. This one's really small. We'll use this one for mainly like CAN bus systems where there's in computers or computer controllers, things like that we have. So we're going to be the main ones that use these little ones. But in these random assortment kits, you have 3 main colors. You have the rojo, azul, and amarillo. So the red, the blue, and the yellow. Yellow is the biggest, and green is middle. Red is smaller. And so because we talked about the range and wires, most of what we're doing is anywhere from 12 to 16 gauge, which is what a red can handle, I believe. It's basically just grab one and see how it fits on there, but get as tight as you can. So that's you can match the connector to whatever wire size you have. One trick though that happens quite a bit is like this example where you have 2 wires. They need to come in one end, but you just have 1 wire on the other end, right? So that's kind of tricky because this is yellow is a big connector. And in this situation, what we do is we'll put like 2 of the similar sized wires together, twist them together, and then put them in on one end. The other end, what you do is, since it's going to be like a hot dog down a hallway, it's just going to be really loose, and if you try to crimp that, it's not going to make a good connection. So a trick that we do is we actually will strip double what we normally would. So we'll go like that. So now we strip double, we'll twist them together, and then grab it with your fingernail, go about in between the middle of the wire, and just put a little pinch like that to where it kind of bends them up. Push it all the way over, and what you can do is you can use your little crimper pliers or whatever and make it a nice little tight bundle. Now what you'll find is when you push that in, it stays on. And then what you want to do is crimp like where that fold was. Kind of remember, I usually see where the fold is on the connector itself. It'll say, this one says 12 to 10 gauge on it. I'll just put that wiring right at the top of where that fold is, and then crimp on the fold. And then you got a really good tight connection.
Una cosa que hemos visto es, como dijo Eric, en situaciones así tenemos 2 conexiones, ¿verdad? Y hay veces que esta de aquí es más chica que las 2 conexiones de acá arriba. So, un buen truco que nosotros hacemos es que en la conexión que él tiene en la mano, le cortamos lo doble, la doblamos y la apachurramos para que sea casi el mismo gruesor que el crimp mismo, para que no se caiga. Hay veces que le ponemos sencillo y lo puedes jalar y te zafa. Entonces cuando dicen, oh, ya lo arreglé, pero está zafado. Ese es un buen truco para que si tienen un cable más delgado que el crimp que están ocupando, lo doblan, lo apachurran y así no tienen una conexión sólida. Una cosa que deben de procurar mucho y muchos no nos damos cuenta, cuando apachurramos estos crimps y los apachurramos de más o de más fuerte, a veces se rompe el plástico. Y este plástico está ahí para que no haga corto, para que lo proteja. Si ven que se rompe el plástico cuando le ponen el encendedor para que se haga heat shrink, o nomás así, ocupan ponerle tape otra vuelta para que no pase por ahí corriente. Eso es muy importante. When we crimp these, sometimes we damage the plastic and it gets exposed when we heat shrink it or anything like that. So it's always a good idea to check that it's not there. We'll put electrical tape around it as well.
Yep. So something else that we have here, we do have a kit. We have 2 different style connectors that we mainly use. Where a lot of equipment that we buy from factory will have these plastic connectors. This particular one is called a Deutz connector, and they're supposed to be waterproof and easily disconnectable, but just better overall if you're going to end up disconnecting something a lot when we're using it. So we have the kit to be able to service these, as well as another one's called Weather Pack, which they're black connectors. And if you ever take one of these apart and there's like some grease or goop or whatever in there, that's normal. That's called dielectric grease. So there is a special grease that we use that we'll put in there that just helps against corrosion, especially with sprayers. Over here in Paso, it's not as bad, but like over on the coast and stuff, this gets used a lot on a lot of applications where there's electrical connections in the marine world and things like that, obviously, because of corrosion. So just understand that we're not asking you guys to keep this on your truck, but if you see that it's got it in there, it's not to be alarmed. It's not harmful. It's just a little extra layer of protection. But this one here, this one was connected improperly, I believe, right?
No, that one had reverse polarity on it. I have to go over that one too.
So, yeah, this one, Cameron can go over that.
So, como dijo Eric,
Yeah.
Como dijo Eric, estas conexiones son las que a veces traen los equipos como de fábrica que ocupamos en las freadoras. Esta conexión es muy eficiente para cuando tenemos que desconectar y conectar el equipo frecuentemente, como controles o X cosa. Esto es muy eficiente porque es protectivo de agua y es más fácil, ¿verdad? Tenemos otro mismo estilo que hace lo mismo, y nomás es para simplificar las conexiones, ¿verdad? Hay veces que en estos tipos de conexiones, a veces cuando los quitan, hayan un tipo de grasa adentro. Esa grasa no es mala, es nomás como una protección para que no le caiga como sarro o se forme adentro del agua. Para hacer eso nomás. Si la hayan, no se alarmen, no es nada malo. Como ahorita van a ver qué es lo que pasa cuando conectan las conexiones al revés, que conectan negativo con positivo, y a veces decimos cómo sabe suceder. ¿Okay? So, ahorita voy a pasar esto alrededor para que lo vean y qué es lo que no deben hacer. So, una cosa que nosotros hacemos en los tractores es que le ponemos esta ploga en los tractores, ¿correcto? Esta ploga todos lo tienen. La razón es nomás es muy fácil para conectar y conectar. Ustedes saben que rojo va con rojo, blanco va con blanco. A veces negro y blanco es diferente, pero siempre rojo y blanco juntos, ¿correcto?
So when we wire that up from the tractor, we wire it so that the exposed metal part is for ground, and the part that's behind the black plastic is where the power comes from. So when that pigtail is not used and it's hanging out in the back of the tractor, if it hits any metal, it's not going to blow the fuse.
So, normalmente cuando conectamos esto en los tractores, conectamos siempre la parte que está con el cable rojo protegido. Eso lo conectamos al tractor siempre por si cualquier cosa se toca metal, no va a ser un corto. Por eso conectamos esta siempre primero. La parte que está rojo expuesto, como esta, va al equipo, porque esa nunca tiene corriente hasta que no se conecte, ¿correcto? Si ustedes ven esto y este rojo está expuesto, cámbienlo, avísenos o lo que sea. Ha pasado casos que esos muchachos están viendo que rojo es rojo y lo ven así y lo conectan. Y cuando eso pasa, es cuando pasa eso así. Hay veces que unos mayordomos a lo mejor no saben la diferencia entre los colores o por qué lo hacemos así, y conectan los dos rojos con el rojo con tierra. Y es cuando se pasan todos los cables, las freidoras no funcionan, hacen mucho daño.
Another thing that we use when we're wiring stuff up is fuse holders. So, you guys, along with the assortment of electrical connectors, you guys can get an assortment of fuses from Napa, O'Reilly's, or any of those places. And so this is an example of a maxi fuse. So this is a big one. This is what David, for example, Onyx, where theirs burned. Those fuse holders on those tractors over time just melt. So what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll cut these, put a whole new holder in. And these are a little bit more protected from the elements. These take this style fuse, so this is called a maxi fuse. We usually use 40s, 60s, and 80s. And then there's, yes, Oliver?
I think everyone here probably has lunch right now. It's 5 hours.
Lonche ahorita?
Yeah.
Start at 6? Okay. Well, I'm almost done. They got 5 more minutes before lunch, right? 10:55, right?
Coming up on.
Okay. So real quick, yeah, that's this maxi fuse, and then you guys have seen these regular fuses, so make sure you keep fuses in your truck. And real quick, the only other thing I wanted to go over before you guys just stand, and I just need you guys to sign in for the training. I just want to talk about metric versus standard bolts real quick, all right? So I'm going to send this around this way and the other way. On these bolts, you'll see that there's lines and then there's numbers, okay? So this is standard and this is metric. They're totally different. So if it's got a number on the top, it's a metric bolt. If it's got little dashes, it's a standard bolt. And so you want to make sure that whatever in the piece of equipment, like the Clemens, some Gearmores, like anything that's made in out of country, like Palank, probably like 80% of our stuff uses metric bolts. So you want to make sure that if the bolt came out, if it's messed up and you need a new one, that you look to see if it's a metric or a standard before you put it in, because the threads that are on there, they're different. They don't match up. So, like these look like they're the same size, but if you were going to put this into something that had threads, like the threads don't line up. Okay, it's okay if the hole, if the bolt and the nut were damaged and you have the same, you need to use like something that's the same size. It's okay as long as your nut fits it. All right. But if it's something where the nut is welded or it's a hole that has threads already in it and it's on the machine, make sure that it's the same metric or standard bolt going in.
So, una cosa bien rápido, en los tornillos, queríamos que sepan que es la diferencia de un métrico y un estándar. El métrico tiene un número siempre, el estándar tiene rayitas en el tornillo todo alrededor. Son muy diferentes. Si ocupan cambiar el tornillo y tienen la tuerca, lo pueden cambiar a otro que no sea ese mismo. Si es estándar, lo pueden poner un métrico, ¿verdad? Pero siempre y cuando la tuerca no esté soldada o el hoyo tiene rosca. Si el hoyo tiene rosca, ocupen el mismo tornillo para que no dañen esa rosca, porque esa rosca nunca es
nunca va a machar, nunca macha con el...
Ya, es muy importante eso también. Y aunque sea métrico y ustedes tienen un tornillo métrico, chequen que la rosca sea la misma rosca, porque hay rosca fina y rosca regular. So, esto también es muy importante.
At the next meeting, I'm going to try to, I didn't get time to get it, but there's this little plastic thing where you can take the bolt and line it up and see what the thread size is and know what the number is. And it's a little bit more complicated, so I won't get into it right now because you guys have to take lunch.
Ya. Para la
Any
próxima,
questions?
para la próxima junta vamos a tener una placa donde le enseña qué size es cada tornillo y qué tipo de rosca es para que ustedes sepan qué rosca llevan eso.
Yeah, so I need to get one for everyone. But right now, I just need you guys to sign, and then you guys can go to lunch.